Condolence to a great man who has passed away, Nesbitt Higgins, who's an MCM. I want to extend condolence to his entire family. Higgins is one of those individuals, he speaks his mind. You know when he like you, and you know when he hates you. He don't hide it. And that's how I hope we would all be as we progress. Mr. Speaker, I rise today on the wonderful and beautiful people of Kalani, and we are here today to debate the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill 2022. The bill seeks to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act 2016, number 37 of 2016, to empower the competent authority to delegate any function conferred upon the authority by the Act to a designated officer or a designated supervisory authority. For over a year now, it has been the responsibility of the new government to oversee our financial services sector and to guide our relationship with multilateral institutions and foreign governments when it comes to our responsibilities regarding tax and information exchange agreements. And based on recent news that the EU had blacklisted the Bahamas, it is clear that the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance has failed to protect the Bahamian economy from this threat. This is yet another example, Mr. Speaker, that all that already on day one talk we heard on the campaign trail was utter nonsense. I support this amendment as I am supportive of all initiatives to ensure the Bahamas is a well-regulated and transparent jurisdiction that lives up to its responsibilities. It is important that we keep our standards high and that investors, foreign governments, and other international partners have confidence in our country as a safe and as a responsible jurisdiction. Mr. Deputy, it is disturbing, though not surprising, that after coming back from the long summer break, the New Day administration does not have a robust agenda to bring before our Parliament. The last sitting of Parliament was mostly devoid of significant legislation to deal with the central issues of the day. Little to nothing seemed to have changed. The PLP still does not have a compelling vision or agenda for our Bahamas. The Prime Minister said that a dog does not bark at parked cars. Herein is another delusion of the Prime Minister and his government. He seems to believe that because he is constantly rushing to and from airport, traveling the world at breakneck speed, that he is actually accomplishing something. And now as we speak, Mr. Speaker, he's in the air traveling to Bermuda. So I wonder who is acting Prime Minister, as no announcement has been made, so I can assume that Anglican is acting Prime Minister. Commotion is not the same as motion in a good or right direction. The Prime Minister is in constant motion, busy traveling overseas while problems and crises mount here at home. For example, Bahamians are not confident this Prime Minister has a coherent plan to cause a reversal of the EU's blacklisting of the Bahamas. Mr. Deputy, sadly, That crisis is but one of the crisis after crisis taking place under the watch of a prime minister who is appearing increasingly, and in my view, incapable of handling the responsibilities of his office. I urge the prime minister and the government to deal with the German Tax Amendment Act, which can be very devastating for our insurance industry, as they would be withholding 15% from claimants, from benefits, from commission, from premium. And if this is not dealt with expeditiously, Mr. Speaker, we would face a financial crisis and subsequently layoff. The crime crisis in New Providence is worsening by the day. The Prime Minister just announced his government is raising BPL bills for Bahamians and businesses. And they're doing so in the lead up to Christmas, which is going to be bad for businesses and bad for consumers as they make their Christmas preparations. Unemployment remains high. Food and gas prices remain high, with food prices continuing to go up. And the Prime Minister has made the stunning decision to impose price controls over a sweeping set of food items and medicines. He did so without proper consultation with wholesalers, retailers, and pharmacies. The Prime Minister's decision amounted to an attack on Bahamian businesses. Businesses are rightly angry that the PLP is making things worse. The Prime Minister is not a businessman, yet he seeks to dictate what businesses can and cannot do, while not understanding even the basic principles of businesses. Mr. Speaker, you know, I always, just that I work for one second, I always just say, it's somewhat distressing at times. Individuals are brought into cabinet dealing with $300 million budget businesses and never ran a toffee shop in their life. By dictating price controls on many items, some stores and pharmacies sell. These businesses could be forced to lay off workers or to close. I respect, Mr. Speaker, I respect Bahamian businesses. I respect the hard-working mothers and fathers who set up stores to earn a living for their families. Members, and to deliver the necessary goods, services, and medicines to our people. Mr. Deputy, please protect the Speaker. Mr. Deputy, they should be allowed the flexibility to set prices in a broad market. The previously existing price control measures were sufficient. Bahamian food retailers, wholesalers, and pharmacies have various costs that have risen sharply in recent months. Real property tax, electricity, security is a must because of the crime element that we see in our country. Shipping costs has gone up. Transportation has gone up. They also have to address the issue very seriously of theft. The retailers have said what the Prime Minister imposed on them without notice was unworkable. And in a stunning reversal, the New Day administration said in a statement on Sunday that the price controls will come into effect on Monday, but they would not be enforced. The Prime Minister put forward a bad and harmful policy. The New Day administration did not consult. Then after chaos, multiple chaos and anger emerged, they started to consult, but still brought the bad policy into effect while not enforcing it for now. This is dysfunctional and it is mixed up. This is embarrassing. The Prime Minister is flip-flopping and backtracking in front of the entire country. I say to the Prime Minister, because I know you're on that plane listening, there is no shame on making a U-turn for the good of the nation. There is no shame. In a matter of days, I want the record to reflect that during my time in office as Prime Minister, we are on record stating that we will increase minimum wage. This Prime Minister is bad for Bahamian business, and his policies are very bad for our economy. He's out of his depth when it comes to managing the economy. This wrong-headed effort to dictate price controls to business people's breadbasket tax on foods and medicine that previously were exempt. He introduced the brave Davis induced superinflation upon the poor. He was criticized for that and advised by the opposition not to do so. But the Davis breadbasket tax made inflation worse. But the New Day administration has been too prideful and arrogant to remove it. Instead, they have come up with even worse policies, such as the price control expansion, in order to make up for the other bad breadbasket policy. Mr. Deputy, I hope this minor amendment to the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act helps the Bahamas better live up to its responsibilities. However, it is clear that the Prime Minister and his administration lack the focus and the direction to lead our country more broadly out of the crisis we face. This amendment is necessary, but it's not part of an agenda that addresses or helps stop the out-of-control killings in New Providence. New Providence is further descending into being a lawless place. Sadly, we are nearing record pace for murders. The killers are attacking victims in open places in broad daylight. Just the other day, a young lady was tragically killed in Iraqi, which is a public place frequented by many Bahamians. And there's also a police station there. The Prime Minister keeps saying he is looking for solutions, but he brings none forward. He keeps saying he has a plan or plans, but where are the plans? He keeps talking, and things keep getting worse and worse. Mr. Deputy, sadly, I understand why the New Day administration is doing so poorly at confronting the crisis after crisis facing the country. The major problem is the captain of the PLP ship has too often abandoned his post over the past year. The Prime Minister seems to spend most of his time preparing to travel en route traveling, on trips, returning from trips, or planning his next trip. The EU may not have blacklisted us if we had a prime minister who was doing his job properly. After 1 year in office, the prime minister gets an F grade for attendance, for not being at his desk doing the people's work. And right now, the prime minister, his out-of-control press secretary, and their large delegation of traveling companions are planning a major trip to Egypt for next month. The conference they're going to is from November 6th to 18th. And now you know, Mr. Deputy, it will take a long time to get to and from Africa. So if you add the travel days before and after the conference, the Prime Minister will not be here for much of November when electricity bills go up. I wonder if he, the out-of-control press secretary, and their traveling companions will go on further tours in Africa after the conference. Maybe they will be touring or spend extra days spending the people's money. Maybe again, they will want a tour of the pyramids, where the pharaohs and others are buried. Mr. Deputy, it is important for us as legislators to remember that when we come to this place, the people expect to hear us address solutions. I could have put it, to challenge solutions to the challenges of the day. Many listening today will not see how the automatic exchange of financial account information Bill 2022 will address the heartless electricity hike by the Prime Minister. At a time of record inflation, the Prime Minister's government has chosen to increase PPL bills on Bahamians and businesses. This was a choice by the Prime Minister and the PLP. We were previously told that a better arrangement would be for the people. In a March 2nd, 2022 Eyewitness News story headlined, "Dodging Steeper Prices, PM pledges government will do all in our power to avoid electricity cost hike." The Prime Minister suggested he would help the people. The story further said, Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis said yesterday that his government will do all in its power to avoid raising the cost of electricity for Bahamians. Lord knows, and he was very passionate, Lord knows that our people can at least afford to have more taxes or costs visited upon their backs. He read on, my government will do all in its power to see how we can avoid raising the cost of electricity on our people, Davis said. He said that once he returned from the CARICOM meeting, which ends today, the government will brainstorm on how best to handle the issue. I repeat, he said the government will brainstorm on how best to handle the issue. Will the Prime Minister please advise the House about the brainstorming cabinet or the government? Mr. Deputy, the Prime Minister has failed to protect Bahamians. The increase in BPL bills will increase prices across the economy. The cost of electricity is factored into the cost of all goods and services. Just as the Prime Minister made inflation worse by implementing the Davis breadbasket tax, he is making it doubly worse by raising BPL. And let us not forget, as reported, let us not forget.
All the time. The chair recognizes the member for Freetown.
I hope that the member remembers 2020 when he was Prime Minister and the Bahamas Electricity Corporation Amendment Regulations 2020 were passed. He suggests that this government caused the change when they put in place the order that requires BPL to pass on the cost of food. Misleading.
Mr. Deputy, in the interest of time, I would proceed, but if you allow me a minute or two at the end, I would be more than happy to address what this member said, so that he would know the facts. And let us not forget, as reported, the Nassau Guardian this past August 29th, that the Prime Minister invited Bahamians to be more frugal. This is the same man whose government dramatically increased its travel budget. The same Prime Minister who isn't being frugal with the people's money is telling the Bahamian people to be frugal with their money. This is worse than hypocrisy. This is a betrayal of the public trust. The Prime Minister and the PLP are mocking. They are mocking the Bahamian people. They are traveling the world in grand style, while many Bahamians can't make ends meet, with some of our people now having to skip meals. In fact, 100% of Bahamians have skipped meals for lack of money, or other PLP does not care. They don't seem, as the young people would say, they don't seem to be checking. They're checking. Mr. Deputy, this bill seeks to help the government better live up to its duty-bound responsibilities when it comes to the automatic exchange of financial account information. I have other concerns about members of this administration not clearly following all the procedures they should. The member for Elizabeth is the Minister for Transport. It is my understanding that hundreds of new taxi plates were issued. I ask, have these plate issuance been gazetted as is mandated by law? If not, that would mean the plates are not yet properly covered under the law. And Mr. Deputy, as no member want to answer such question, I will answer the question. They have not been gazetted. The member has not gazetted as required by law. I refer to the Road Traffic Act, where the minister proposes to increase or decrease under subsection 1 of this section the maximum number of any class of license referred to in that subsection. He shall cause his proposal for the purpose to be published in the Gazette, and there shall elapse between the date of the publication of the Gazette and the date of the announcement of this determination a period of not less than 30 days. Section 4 states, before reaching a determination, the member shall consider any representation in writing made to him not later than 21 days after the date of publication in the Gazette referred to in section 3 of this section, and such determination shall be published in the Gazette. Mr. Deputy, the member violated the law. And she did not comply with the law. In my opinion, and the opinion of many judges and legal professions whom I've asked, in the opinion When there's no compliance of the law, it is an illegal act. Mr. Deputy, this is the problems that can arise. When the controller left office, there were 1,135 taxi plates. That was the last number, 1,135. Today, it's up to 1,800. I've seen with these own eyes a plate driving or a taxi driving around. That was number 1,703. But there's 1,000. So there's 665 plates that were issued. Now, they did not adhere to the law. And therefore, the problem is, if they were to encounter any form of accident, does the insurance company hold any responsibility? Because they have violated, the law is clear in the Road Traffic Act, section 66, subsection 3 and 4, shall. And now you see why we have so many problems within this country. When the government themselves do not follow the law, what do you expect the common man to do? You follow the leader. Like you did. Mr. Deputy, the Bahamas face a serious challenge. I ask the members to deal with the Minister of Transport. We're facing serious crisis. We're now about to embark on a road traffic crisis, an insurance crisis, because they are not responsible. Those taxis that are on the plate did not adhere to the legal policies in the Road Traffic Act. Under the leadership of this Prime Minister and the PLP, Bahamians are increasingly fearful about crime, about the economy, and about the future. The government is lost.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Angleston.
The number for Kalani has made a number of allegations, including accusing the Minister of Transport of violating the law. He's not referred to any legislation. I was asking, what provision is that? And the other thing the member should bear in mind, repeat it, is that he should bear in mind is that what the minister sought to do was to look at dormant plates that were not on the road and to seek to address those dormant plates. So your assumption that there was some increase in the numbers is not. I would wish you to advise this Parliament upon what are you basing that? Because my understanding is that the minister sought to address dormant place where people have died, where you saying no, you know more than all of us then. And so if you are aware of some other situation and where there was an increase, provide us outside of the dormant plates. If you would refer us to the legislation that you are saying has caused what has happened to be unlawful.
Thank you, honourable member. Can you please Can you go back to the time? We said that it wasn't? Okay.
Anyhow, Mr. Deputy,
I would give you extra time if you need.
That was our intent also to do the same. However, the law is straight. She went beyond the 330. The taxi, Mr. Deputy, I do not speak without having facts. At the end, I will even table a copy. I will table a copy of the law for her. But you can Google Road Traffic Act, Google it, and look at section 66, subsection 3 and 4. Mr. Deputy, allow me to finish first. With BPL bills, it will be a hard Christmas for many Bahamians. Many won't even be able to keep the lights on their Christmas trees due to the Prime Minister's decision to raise the electricity bill. And when the Prime Minister's again flying high in the sky, with his head in the clouds on his next trip, but he's on a trip now, on way to Bermuda. Let us hope he might spare a few thoughts for the country he has left behind. I got 1 minute, 30 seconds. So far, the PLP doesn't seem to care, and they are not checking for we, the people. I asked the question. Are you introducing real property tax in the family islands? Because I know you've been obtaining the information from the residents in Maniwaki and other family islands. Are you about to ensure or force Bahamians to pay real property tax? You can answer these questions on undeveloped property, as you are trying at this point in time, forcing those from the over the hill community who live within the tax-free zone. You are trying to enforce and make it mandatory that they pay real property tax when they are exempted. Mr. Deputy, before I close, the member mentioned about the bill for the courts. I agree, such a bill should be brought forward. I agree. But, Mr. Deputy, is something that bothers me that I would have loved to bring in, but I did not, and I would like the members to think about it. There are three sectors of governance. There's the judiciary, there's the legislative, and there's the executive. The judiciary, led by the Chief Justice, has certain benefits, insurances, etc. The executive has certain benefits. For some reason, there's discrimination against the legislature. Mr. Deputy, you and the Speaker are in charge of the legislature, and you have my support that this discrimination should end, so that that's a matter that should be dealt with. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Freetown.